Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the last resort. Let's see what happens.
I tell you what.
Don't you want me to explain what happened?
Ask him for the screenshot of how long the call lasted. For the
You do it.
call.
Yeah. I trust you. I don't
No,
want to talk.
ask him. Be like, hey, can you just send me a screenshot?
Hey,
Michael.
Well, I don't think that's going to work because I think he was on the call, especially the first one, for a fair amount of time, but he didn't know they were at a strip club until a ways in. And from the looks of it, as soon as he saw what was happening, he was like, no, don't do that. Don't. He was like saying something like, don't. And then eventually he hung up. So if you just go by the time, and plus, do we think that even if it was 2 seconds each call, do we think that Angela is going to be totally cool with that? You know, if I were Angela's friend, I would say, what's going on with you right now? Like, what do you think has happened? What are you worried about? I would think if she were being honest, Angela would say, well, I'm guessing at first she would say, I'm just not going to put up with this shit. He's always cheated on me. And it's like, okay, well, and that's real. But what are you worried about right now, given what just happened? And if she were being honest, but I don't know if she has the self-awareness. In fact, I highly doubt that she has the self-awareness to say something like, well, he's cheated on me before. And so, and he knows that we have a rule about that. And I guess even if he was trying to draw a boundary, I just worry that, some other woman is going to catch his eye and he is going to be seduced or influenced away from me. It's something I think about a lot. I worry about that. And then, you could talk about that.
I don't care. Either way, he's looking at naked bodies. And I just had Michael cheat on me virtually. What's the difference of him looking at a naked woman through a video call? That's why I'm holding on to my divorce papers for this reason. And I want to make sure he's not playing me again.
Another factor for Angela in particular is what I believe, I don't know if it's present, is her seeming humiliation trauma that she will have strong reactions around. This might not have anything to do with attachment, loss trauma, and everything to do with humiliation trauma because she's being filmed and might look like she is being humiliated by Michael. And what she does, I think, is she will try to humiliate the other person, Michael, 100 times over so that it eclipses any humiliation that she's going through. But when she does that, she just humiliates herself, which of course is what a lot of defenses will do to us. The thing we're avoiding, we actually create. And it's possible it's not jealousy, but humiliation complex that she's engaging in. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's a new year, so of course it's time for New Year's resolutions. But often those are just manifestations of internalized harmful voices that tell us we're not good enough. So instead of making a resolution to change something, let's recognize that we are already good enough. Now, most people think of therapy as a place for us to work on our problems, but there are several schools of thought within the field of psychotherapy that adamantly reject that paradigm, like narrative therapy and solution-focused. Instead, these clinicians help us focus on what we're already doing well. And by helping us do that, data shows that we often will gravitate towards more beneficial patterns. Well, one place you can find such therapists is on BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I think to calm Angela's nerves is, will you be willing to take a screenshot of how long those last 2 calls lasted?
I mean, maybe
no, so she can know that you weren't on the phone that long. Will you at least be willing to send a screenshot of how long those 2 phone calls lasted?
And, I commend Liz for trying. There's been a number of moments where Liz has been one of the main voices of reason in this scenario and other scenarios on the show. So, it's not a bad idea, but I think it overall continues this premise that Michael needs to follow rules instead of actually being a secure attachment. For abusive people, this is what they engage in typically, is rule dominance. You can't see a certain thing. You can't hang out with those people. You can't be on that social media platform. She says you can't be on Instagram. You can't be on the internet. And that all is likely an effort to retain attachment, but it doesn't actually do that. It doesn't stop someone from cheating. It might even propel them away from you to be more likely to leave you and or cheat. So, there's this idea of just like, well, if I can, that's the controlling, abusive premise that abusive people will follow is if I can just get total control over their behavior and limit it, then I'll feel better. But that doesn't work. And so they just keep controlling and narrowing the set of behaviors that their partner can do until it's, so minuscule you can't even see it. And yet the abusive person still does not feel secure, does not feel satisfied, doesn't feel safe. So to continue on this, this campaign of trying to figure out how many seconds, I think is playing into that to some extent. But it doesn't solve anything. What would solve it is if they had a secure relationship and they had open communication and vulnerability and love and affection. Like with my wife, I don't have any rules for her. I want her, I have the same desire, so strange to say this out loud, but I have the same desire that Angela has, in that I don't want to lose my attachment. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be abandoned. I want my wife to be with me forever. And I want that. But yet I don't have any rules. There's no rule. I don't tell her that, she can and cannot do something. I don't scrutinize these kinds of things. I cultivate a strong relationship and attachment such that I just feel more secure. And she is more likely to consider my feelings when she does something. She doesn't just act just regularly as if she were single. She considers my feelings because she cares, right? Not because she's held to some rule, but because she cares about my feelings. And it's not just abusive relationships. This is universal as well, in that we all, when we are hurt or we have a concern, we tend to comment on behavior instead of just telling the person that the effect it has on us. Even a stranger on the bus, someone is upset at you, and you'll get into a debate about like, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Whereas if you just say to the person, hey, I might have done what you think that I did. Like a common scenario would be you are on the freeway and you're getting over and you thought you checked your blind spot, but you didn't do it effectively. You get over and you cut off someone, and this person's honking at you and really upset at you, and they pull it next to you. It's impossible to do this, and I wish that we had the ability to do this. I've actually fantasized about having a way to quickly text someone or record a voice memo and directly send it to a car to explain something, because, I've done that before. I don't do it very often because I physically check my blind spot a lot, especially on the freeway. But, in my lifetime of being a driver for 35 years, it's happened, at least a handful of times. And when those things happen, what I want to say because the person is pulling up next to me, like flipping me off. And what I want to say is like, I get it. I'm sorry. And I don't normally do that. And, you're right to be upset, and you're right I value safety on the freeway greatly. And I would be just as upset. I get it. I hear you. But how do you communicate that as they're flipping you off and you're looking at them? Like, if I do anything like, sorry, it looks like I'm being sarcastic, or, and even in public, something will happen. Something happened years ago, in, person to person along these lines. And I immediately was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was sorry. And the person was angry at me and my friends. And I immediately was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. Because like right away, I was like, that person's right. And I wasn't wrong, but I was being inconsiderate, or we were being inconsiderate. We just didn't know. But anyway, immediately I was apologetic, and they were like doubling down on their anger and abuse of me. And I was like, no, you're right. I agree with you. It's totally understandable that you're upset. And if I had known, I wouldn't have done that. You're right. And then they double down again. It's just like, so what response were anyway, so when we tell someone, so it kind of blows up my theory if we tell people, but my my wish is that, well, maybe some people, is that with that car, I cut someone and they pull back. If I was to very quickly say to them, I'm so sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I put you in that position. I'm sorry that I cut you off. I didn't see you. I did look, but I didn't look closely enough. I'm kind of frazzled, but that's no excuse, and I'm sorry. And I'm very ashamed of myself, or I feel very guilty for having done that to you. I feel bad. I feel empathy. I'm so sorry. If we are able to do that, people tend to de-escalate, but we rarely do that, even in public. Now, of course, to relationships. So if Angela were to say to Michael, when I see that, it triggers me in this way, and it makes me feel vulnerable, it makes me feel afraid, and it brings back all these memories of you cheating on me and past partners cheating on me and my dad abandoned me or whatever else, and I'm sitting here feeling humiliated and afraid and hurt. That motivates someone in Michael's position to say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and more likely to accommodate that in the future by, I don't know what Michael was supposed to do in that situation, because I think he feels obligated or might be obligated to answer the phone since he's on the show. But, other scenarios where he might be able to accommodate. Plus, bonds people and makes them less likely to leave you and cheat.
Of how long those 2 phone calls lasted.
I don't have it on my,
Right, thank
my
you.
record.
Oh, you don't have it on your record.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't have it on my record. Maybe on his phone in his area they don't have that, but that's hard to believe. That's, at least I imagine it to be a fundamental record that is kept on everybody's phone. Well, it's possible that, but even if it's like a burner phone or something, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a possible, because Michael, I'm guessing he's lying because he knows that he was on the call for a number of seconds and that wouldn't serve him, so he's trying to get out ahead of it by lying.
Not with this, it's too early.
Joey has a crazy obsession with the strip club, crazy obsession with alcohol, and I think I am kind of looking nice to give him stuff where he doesn't go over there, but he's still obsessed with that and he lies to me.
Yeah, so he was lying and downplaying, and it was hurtful to Yara. I think there was an opportunity for him to quickly apologize or make up for what he had done if he had just said something like, yeah, I'm so sorry we went to, or for him, what he should have done was tell her beforehand. But given that he didn't, he could say something like, yeah, I'm sorry, we went to a strip club, nothing happened, and I'm in love with you, and I don't, it's just, maybe if he were to describe to her what he gets out of it, because, but he might be getting something out of it that is not okay in their relationship, but I don't know. But he had a strategy, I think, of just sort of making her out to be crazy person and yelly person. But anyway, I think his strategy is to do this to her. I think he has a pattern of this where he will provoke, and in his head, I think he believes that she is being unreasonable. And maybe there's some unreasonableness to her reactivity sometimes, but that's only if it's taken out of context. In context, you would understand her reaction, right? But I think he resorts to that in his mind, which makes him feel justified in just walking away. So if I were to help them, one, I'd try to help him with that, and two, I would try to help her to communicate maybe in a different way to not give him this excuse. In a way, I wonder if she were just to say, wow, that's hurtful, that you would lie and you would go to a strip club, which you know how I feel about that. It's humiliating. It's hurtful. It makes me think you want to be with someone else. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, but I don't know. You're not giving me any indication otherwise. You're lying to me. It makes me think, what else are you lying about? Again, this is all at this tone, right? This calm tone. And when you do stuff like this, it degrades my affection towards you. I want to love you, but when these things happen, it makes my body tense up and protect itself, and it's hard to feel love for you when you do stuff like this, and it just makes me really sad. And then just walk away. I wonder what he would do, because he wouldn't be able to resort to, she's crazy. She's a crazy foreigner who like gets over emotional and upset. I wonder if that would actually get under his skin and make him think, oh my God, what have I done? But anyway, so at the very least, you'd think he would be guilty, feel guilty for lying, just straight up to her face, and then continuing to lie the next day. It's pretty awful.
I don't know what I can do for you not go over there.
Now, I have to say that when one is having an emotion and is very upset, it's hard to stay calm in one's rhetoric or one's discussion, one's speech to one's partner. So I'm not faulting Yara for having emotion and having that expression.
Next time.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.